I don't know how many of you guys will be able to relate to this message, but I feel like life in your 20s feels like living life in good hopes, in good faith. It's living life with no certainty as to what will happen next. And for a lot of people, myself included in some ways, this is a kind of worrying thing. It's a kind of challenging thing. And as I grow older, I learn this more and more. I see this more and more. But I feel like understanding this just as a concept makes it a lot easier to get through life and to kind of put the work into things. You see, the thing that young people lack, naturally, it's not even their fault, is years worth of experience. When you've done something a couple of times before, even if it looks like it's not working, if you know the process, if you know how it works, you can tell whether you're on the right track or not. So that's just an experience thing. When you're in your 20s, or maybe even younger, maybe even slightly older, you don't know a lot of stuff, right? And a lot of people are living this life in the hopes that things will go their way. Let's think of a few examples. Working that job that you hate in the hopes, in good faith, let's say, that money will come your way, you'll be able to save and invest. Starting that business that's not working out in the hopes, in good faith, that it will turn itself around. Going to the gym in the hopes, in good faith, that you'll become more attractive, and so on and so forth. The list could go on. I just wanted to give a few examples of what I'm talking about first. The thing is, you see, unlike for a lot of people who have lived for a longer period of time and who can tell the results, and I feel like when you've been through this cycle a few times, even at age 21 myself, right? How many of you guys know if you work a little bit harder, if you put effort into a new project, it will work? For example, this is my third YouTube channel. It may seem like I've uploaded a lot of videos for very little success, but I know the process, so I'm completely comfortable with it. I don't need good faith anymore. But I feel like when we're young and when we don't have an understanding of things to that degree, when we're working in new fields, when we're trying new tasks, we need that degree of hope to have any success. And I see this is where a lot of young people go wrong. Because a lot of people see this what's the point mentality. Because a lot of things in life are not certain. Obviously, by doing things more, by repeating things, by educating yourself, you can increase the likelihood of it. But let's be honest, even if you work the best 9 to 5 job that you can, there's no hopes of having a good career. It's not certain. You may get sacked, you may get laid off. There's no hopes of having, not even hopes, there's no certainty of having a lot of money in savings. There's no certainty of having a big house and a family. Anything can happen. Obviously, on the job example, let's say we get a better education, better skill set, more experience, we can increase the likelihood substantially, but we can't make it a certainty. It becomes almost certain, but it can never really be 100% until it's already been. From that point, it's pretty easy to replicate. Think about riding a bike, right? I don't know about you guys, but when I was being taught to ride a bike, it seemed like the most challenging thing in the world. Same with driving a car. Now I do it with so much ease, it's like a second thought. These are realistic examples of things that you had to do the first time in good faith, in the hopes that things will work out for you, and now you do them on a day-to-day basis and don't even really think about how complex they are. When you're a child and you do these tasks, you have someone guiding you. When you're learning to drive, you're with a driving instructor. When you're learning to ride a bike, you might have your dad, or your granddad, or a brother, or someone like that, teaching you how to do it. When you become an adult and you're pushed into the whole world, the wide world, and you have a goal in your head that perhaps other people can't completely understand, because the reality of it is we all want different things. And even if we want very similar things, they're very likely not going to be the same. Maybe my friend wants to be a lawyer and live in the countryside and have a big mansion. Maybe I want to be a lawyer and live in the city and experience that kind of life. Very similar, but not the same. So we come from a upbringing where everybody is doing the same thing, really, if you think about it. School is the same. You may have people who work harder on it and do things outside of school, but it's a very standardised thing. The things that you can do as a child, pretty standardised, pretty basic. When you become an adult, the guide wheels kind of get taken off. I'm sure you guys know this to be the case. All of a sudden, 20, 21, 23, 25, 27, hopefully younger than that though, you are straight into the world and it's like, oh, time to get a job. Oh, it's time to move out. Oh, I've got taxes to pay. I've got bills to pay. I've got costs. I've got expectations. And like I say, the real trouble with this, due to a lack of experience, is we don't see the end of the road. We don't see the outcome. And I know I'm kind of explaining the point to its fullest here, but I feel like this is important because if you are my target audience, if you're not, that's great too, by the way. But if you are my target audience and you're 18, 20, 21, 23, 25, my age basically, or a little bit younger, a little bit older, you guys will know what I'm talking about here. There's so much that's expected of you straight away. And I know some people will say, well, it's really simple. All you've got to do is pull yourself up by the bootstraps. And obviously, there is a degree of truth to that. Action is the answer. However, that is a very vague statement. And it's all well and good saying that, but where do you go if you don't know what to act on? Anyway, we'll get to that in a second. But what I'm saying is, I'm sure my target audience can attest to this reality. The fact that you're told that you need to do all of these things, and especially in today's market, right? Let's say getting a job. So you need to start from somewhere. So you get a basic job, maybe you're in an office, let's say, we'll say an office job, because that's potentially a career with some progression. You're in an office and you work 9 to 5 and you get paid minimum wage. At that stage, you've got to work that job in good faith that you will get a promotion, in good faith that you'll get a raise, in good faith that you're building, experience for your career that's going to help you down the line. But you don't know this as a certainty, and you don't have the experience or the foresight due to your youth, and the same is true for me, right? I'm not saying that it's not. To know where this is going, to know what the likely outcomes are, and a lot of the time to know that everything's fine. And I feel like this is why we've got so many young people who, number one, in a lot of cases are out of the path that they should be on, and number two, are not willing to take risks. Because like I say, everything is with the guide wheels off. I'm 21, guys, and I know this fully, right? Because I'm obviously in that transitional period myself, definitely an adult now. I've got bills to pay, taxes, I've got to do my own tax forms, right? I run businesses. So I understand this completely. And this is a challenge because unlike when you were a child, you might have your mum or your dad or both telling you what to do. You've got a fairly rigid routine structure. When you become an adult doing this sort of stuff, no support. And again, going back to the point, because everybody's on such different paths, everybody in your friendship group, every single person may not understand this. They may not understand your mission. Why would you want to start a business? And that's why it requires a lot of good faith. Because not only will you probably not have as much support from everybody that you'd like to, you'll also most likely not have the results. Most of the older people that I know, let's say 30 to 40, maybe even 50, who are business people, when I have the privilege, and I'm going to say it as it is, to speak to them, and I hear about their stories, even the people who are like 30, 35, 40, a common theme is that a lot of them spent a lot of their younger years broke. Now, let's say, for example, you've had a very, very, social mid-20s. Now you're coming up to 30. Now you can start a business in the good faith, I'm going to use that word or that phrase a lot, that you will be able to make a lot of friends, that you'll be able to get another job, even if it's a poor one, minimum wage one where you have to work your way up, you know you can do it. You are in good faith that everything will work out, you've got social connections, you've got people who you can rely on if your business fails, you've got credit, all these different things. So even from 25, 30, starting a business, I'm not saying it becomes easier, it probably becomes a lot harder because a lot more is expected, you've got bigger bills to pay and all that sort of stuff. But what I'm saying is this, you can do it with a lot more assurance, knowing that I've been alive for 15 years as an adult and nothing's going to go wrong that badly. Nothing that I can't recover from in 2, 3, 4 years. When you're 18, let's be honest, when you're 20, 2, 3, 4 years sounds like a very, very long time. When you're 10, 1 year is a tenth of your life, right? When you're 20, it's a fifth. So, let's say sacrificing 2 years, that's a tenth of your life. And that's nothing in the grand scheme of how long you most likely will live, hopefully, God willing. But it sounds like a lot at the time regardless. What am I trying to say here to explain my point? A lot of people in their 20s do not take the challenges, risks and opportunities that they could because they don't know that everything will be fine. They don't know what the end goal will be. And when they weigh up their options, they think that they've got too much to lose. But the reality of it is, you do need a lot of good faith to make that jump. To move to that new town and take up that new job, to upskill yourself, to go back to college, university, to drop out and pursue a business, to start a business, to get a minimum wage job even, whatever it is, takes a lot of good faith when you're in your 20s. Because you do not have the experience, you do not have the resources and people to go back to rely on, and I don't know, I feel like this is something that not enough people speak about. Your 20s is fine, it's a great time for learning. But because you don't have experience, your worldview is definitely a bit skewed. And so many people that I know are like this. I just want to be this. I just want to try that. I just want to get to the end goal. But directly, let's say, some things go against the end goal. For example, I want to get rich and live on it, and live by the sea, let's say, and party on yachts. What does a lifestyle party on yachts by the sea look like? What emotions spring to mind? Excitement, happiness, joy, fun, so on and so forth. Now when you think about how you'd get there, if you're coming from the bottom, like I am, what do you need to do? You might need to run a business full-time, or full-time plus. That's to say 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week. You might need to have a job full-time plus. You might need to do both. I don't know what your grind's going to be, but what I'm saying is this. When we contrast those two views of life, those two experiences, those two plans, one sounds completely opposite to the other. But you've got to do the unfortunate work in good faith that you'll make enough money to invest in this and build a business again, and then build from that, and then from that, and from that, all the way until you get to the point that you want. And when you don't know to be that as a certainty, I'm sure it is, well, in fact, no, I know it is challenging. But I think it's the only way to break out of the trap. And I feel like the lack of willingness for most people, and I do really think it is most people, to sort of realise it is a risk, it is a challenge, but you've got to have faith in yourself. The lack of people to realise this, it must be why so many people find themselves in an unfortunate situation when they get to their 40s. If you're in your 20s and you've got these challenges ahead, as you naturally will, you've got to live life in the hopes and the faith that you can make stuff work. I'm not saying it's not going to be challenging, of course it is. Life is very challenging, especially when you're in your 20s and you don't understand that much. I'm in that position myself. But what is the end goal? Well, that's for you guys to decide. But having the belief, the desire and the want to get there is going to help you immensely. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.